and she's had a rough time. She's one of 8 siblings, and she just lost her last sister.
Oh, wow.
She's the only one left, and so it's quite a devastating time of life.
Yes.
She's a widow. She's having a rough go of it.
Who is this?
Her name is Mavis. Right from Missouri.
Yes.
Talked to my sister this afternoon, and her husband John is having back surgery on the 25th. She said it was outpatient, but I don't know how that works.
Yeah. It's the way the insurance has it these days.
She said the recovery was, I don't remember, it was like anywhere from 3 days to 3 months or 2 months or something like that.
Oh, Mr. Wright.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that big, but
Yeah, exactly. Mentioned recently Kenny Richardson, and he passed away on Sunday. I don't think the service is until later this month, so I don't know how that works, but I think it's like the 18th or something. Anyway, so certainly be praying for, I don't know, there's not much family left. There's a couple of grandsons, right? 3 grandsons, and obviously Mike's wife is still here in town. So be praying for those involved. And then here in town, just yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes.
Tom Pearson, who has total home, fell off the roof of the water department over there in town, and he is not well at all. The way he landed and all that, he has done a ton of damage to his body, and he's coded a couple times today, so he's certainly need prayer. But at this point, he's got a broken hip, 2 breaks in his back, all the ribs on this side are broken, and some of the ribs on this side are broken. Both lungs are punctured from those broken ribs. Skull fracture, numerous ones, and then many bones in his face are broken, and several brain bleeds that are out of control. So things are not looking well for him. He's got 4 kids, I believe. 4. Sounded like, and I don't know who would do stuff like this, but they had 2, and then they waited several years, and they had 2 more.
No, there's a younger daughter and
Yes.
son.
So I don't understand people that do stuff like that.
Just crazy.
Just crazy. But anyway, so that's 4 kids involved, and obviously his wife, and a rough time for them. This was just yesterday, right after lunch, it happened, and he's still on minute by minute watch. So we praying for Tom Pearson.
His wife's Diane.
Yes, his wife is Diane. And I know that the police officer that showed up and the 2 ladies that work at City Hall that are right there did not fare well with the scenes. And certainly even, obviously Tom's a big concern. His life is on the line, but just those that were even there were really struggling with this. I had not been able to contact his employer that was with him. I was able to talk with him yesterday, but I don't have a name, and I don't know any details where he lives or whatever. But he was right there, and he was not handling it. Well, he was handling it well to be expected for what happened. Yes, but that's gonna be extremely hard. So, certainly Tom's the main prayer request, his family, wife, and all that. But there's a lot of residuals that are impacted by that, and so we be praying for all involved. Another prayer request, we're heading, Lord willing, heading tomorrow to Maranatha. A close comparison to Bob Jones last week. Well, a much closer comparison, we'll say. It's a much closer trip anyway. Than Bob Jones, but girls will be there for a couple of days. We'll just drop them off, come back. I have a class, online class for work, so it may be that we go up there and I take the class in the library, which I haven't had to do much in the Maranatha Library for, well, maybe forever. This may be my first scholastic event in the Maranatha Library. So we'll either stay down there and Kate, they will be in classes, but my wife and little Josiah there will wander around and keep themselves probably in trouble or out of trouble or something. Or we may come back and I'll do it at this library. At least gotta have one scholastic event in the Maranatha Library. Actually, I've taken some master classes and it requires a tremendous amount of, and it was actually in the library, so I can't technically say that. But in contrast to my college days, it could definitely well be said. But anybody else?
I don't have any updates. I handed out a Sharon Clark letter last week. She's doing well.
Well, let's go to the Lord of prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you that you are who you are. We thank you as we pointed out different aspects of who you are on Sunday. I pray that as those cards may be arriving already, I pray that you certainly encourage those that we sent those to, that they be challenged by the reminder of an unchanging God. And I just pray that, certainly not for our glory, but that you would just enable us to be used as an encouragement to different lives that will be receiving these here perhaps even today. And I just pray that you do what only you can do. You asked for the requests that were mentioned, certainly this Maris, who was recently just lost a sibling, and certainly just the very reality of loss, the very reality of realizing that lost a spouse and now all the siblings. It's quite a transition, even just in our thoughts. And I pray that going through this, be able to grasp, perhaps in a fuller way, who you are, and that you'd be able to wipe away those tears and be able to fill the void, and even that you'd be able to cherish the memories as well. We thank you for that. We do pray as well, and similar lines, that you be with the Richardson family, certainly the grandsons, that some of them here still local, and certainly Carrie here in town as a daughter-in-law. I just pray that you be with them in this recent loss, and certainly the preparations and the services yet to come, and all those details that are involved. I just pray that you be certainly honored, and again that you do what only you can do. Certainly do pray for my uncle as he goes for surgery here later this month, and certainly the details of the recovery and all that's involved there. I just pray that you would keep him healthy and trusting in you from now until then, but as well that you would certainly direct the physicians, the surgeon, and then as well give him just a speedy recovery as well from this. I do ask that you be with Tom here tonight, certainly struggling with many different medical needs. I do pray that you would give grace to his wife and to his kids and grandkids and extended family that's involved. And I just pray that even tonight, that as 24-hour care and the watchful eyes of those in medicine are surrounding him, I just pray that they be able to do what is necessary to remove some of certainly the pain that he's in. I do pray that through this, maybe even in this very moment, that he be reminded of you. And certainly the necessity to encourage his family, encourage his wife. And I do ask that you be with those that responded as well, certainly those immediately right from the building, but as well his co-worker or employee that was right there on site, and the first responders as well. Certainly several of them having a very difficult time. I just pray that you would Just allow their thoughts, allow their heart to be focused on that which is right and true. And I just pray that you would do, again, as I say so often, is that you would do what you only can do, and that you only alone would be glorified. For other requests, certainly on our hearts and our lives, and needs, and certainly even this trip tomorrow, and the girls at Maranatha, and just decisions that lie ahead for them as far as their college education. I pray that you just direct them in their decisions and their steps, and that you be honored there as well. And I pray that you direct our time here that remains here this evening, and that our time in your word would bring honor and glory to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Quick announcement: Sunday, Lord willing, we have our anniversary service confirmed with Peter Wright that all is well. Still planning on being here. He has no need for a motel, so that is wonderful as far as our end goes. Those come out Sunday morning, and it sounds like it. His son coming has been kind of up in the air. Not sure if it's going to happen, but it sounds like they're going to be doing their program. Remember last year they did Life of Job. It seems like it was Life of Job. This year they're doing the life of Joshua. And he said that originally he was telling me because the family wouldn't be with him, he was just going to do music and preach a message. And today he confirmed that they'd be doing their presentation. So I don't know if that means more of the family's coming. I don't know those details. But anyway, that's planned. Looking forward to that. He's actually in California today. Just flew out this morning, so I don't know when he comes back from California. I don't know what Peter Wright would be like tired, because I've never seen him less than 192 miles an hour. But there's a chance we may see him tired on Sunday. For the rest of us, we would be tired at that point, and we'll see what he does in a similar circumstance. So that'll be Sunday. We have the meal all worked out, and any other extras or whatever that you like to coordinate. See my wife, and we'll get that taken care of. Next Wednesday, Lord willing, is our business meeting, quarterly business meeting. I believe that's already here. Several things that we need to go over in that regard. Hope to have agendas. It's on the back. We probably won't make a big deal of it on our anniversary Sunday, but hope to have that all on the back table by Sunday, and some things to go over there as well. Following Wednesday would be our normal time to go to Mr. Cole's. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here. I may have a meeting that is. So I'm not sure those details. We'll maybe discuss that more next week. Oh, that's right. Thursday. Go backing up a week and a day. We have the Lions. We're hosting the Lions here, and we're going to make some ham and whatnot to go along with the potato bar, I think, right? And if anybody is available to assist in the preparation, the serving, or the cleanup afterwards, that would be greatly appreciated. It starts at 6:30, but obviously we'll have to be ready before that time frame. And typically the meal is at least done from our point of view, serving it usually by 7. But their meeting continues on until 8. And I think we're able to do a lot of the cleanup during that time frame, close the door and the curtains there for the kitchen and get a lot of it done. But anyway, that'll be next Thursday, so 8 days from now, week from tomorrow. And if anybody's available to help us, assist us, that would be a blessing in that regard as well. So next week we have our anniversary on Sunday. We have a business meeting on Wednesday, and hosting a meal for the Lions on Thursday. And so it'll be a full week to an extent for that as well. Is there anything else? I don't think that we have anything else. Oh, our teen service is coming up on the short horizon as well. We missed the last one, so it seems like it's been quite some time. And interesting to have, I forget her name now, Karen here on Sunday. Just because. Very nice as well. Quick review, and I'm going to go through these very quickly here. It's Pitfalls was our last chapter. From the chapter, those good times, those kind of the instruments that are involved. I don't know if that specifically used the word instruments in the book. I kind of applied that word. And then those small things, when those things that But it's easy to trust God sometimes when there's big issues in our life, and we'll cry out to God and say, Lord, I'm trusting you in this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm trusting you. But there are a lot of things that happen in our just the day-to-day routines that, because they're small, they really become pitfalls to truly trusting God. And we have to learn to trust God in all things, and includes the small things. Our emotions can certainly be a pitfall to trust. Numerous kinds of emotions that we can get involved with. Certainly, anger, we can use that as an emotion. Lots of things, and anxiety, and all those things that are sometimes automatic to us in human terms can certainly get in the way of truly trusting in our God. Our solutions can as well be a pitfall of trust. Hey, here's the problem I have. I know what we should do. I know the solution. And instead of trusting in our God, we're trusting in us, in our solution, in our answer. And to be reminded of our need to trust God even beyond our hope. Now, that does not mean that we should not have a solution. That does not mean that we sit, scenario happens and we're just going to sit here motionless until God pushes us that way. We are to move, and we can even use the illustration of Paul heading down on his missionary journey and heading this way, and the Lord says no. Head this way, he says no. Head this way, he says no. Then he has a vision to head over to Macedonia. All the benefits of him going in that direction. But we have to be reminded that Paul was moving. His feet were moving. I had my Bible at home that I use for studying. It has right there in the front cover here something along the lines of God can't steer a life that's parked. And just a reminder that there are times that we don't know what God is doing, but our feet need to be moving for Him. We need to be moving forward. It's certainly our God that has means to close doors, and we have to be like, I'm going to get on a whole message here, but the whole saying that when God closes the door, He opens the window, that's not true. That is not the fact. That is not biblical. It kind of has that idea of, I want to do this, and God closes it this way, so I'm going to figure out how else to get what I want. And that's not really what God has called us to. When God closes the door, He opens the door. And when God says, no, this is the way I want you to go, He'll send us another way that He does want us to go. We don't need to climb out a window. In fact, many times, I can say this in my own case, we're trying to get out a window, and there's a huge garage door wide open, and God's saying, here it is, it's right there. And I'm trying to figure out how to get the lock open on the window and convince it, this is what has to be done. and God's like pointing those old signs that had the arrow flashing, a boom, a boom, a boom. It's right there. And so we have to realize that there are times that our minds will come up with solutions. Our minds will come up with direction. And there are times that God uses that, and He leads us in that. But there are times that we must always make sure that we're not trusting in those solutions, we're trusting in our God. And that if we look at our solutions as the remedy, we'll be sorely disappointed. If we look at our solutions as the means of accomplishing God's will, He will direct us as we go. Number 6, our ambitions, kind of very close to what we were just saying, but certainly less of the flesh highs in life. Things what I want, my goals, my objectives, certainly can get in the way of trust. Same reason, and the little illustration, I close the door, my ambition says, find that window, still try to get it done. Well, that's ambitious, but that's not necessarily trusting our God. Our knowledge, again, kind of all break-offs of the same thought of our pitfalls. What we know, what we expect, but then there's always what God does. And tonight, I had a couple more of my notes of things that could be pitfalls, but I thought, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on pitfalls. And my wife gently reminded me that, we've gone over quite a few. We could probably continue on with the next chapter. So we're moving on with the next chapter. And we're looking, in fact, this is the last chapter. I think the chapter is called Always Giving Thanks, or Giving Thanks Always. I think that's how it was. Giving Thanks Always. But not the whole chapter is about giving thanks. I thought that was unique. Made the chapter title, but not all of us following. There are, let me say it this way, there are benefits to trusting our God. We can even just kind of going off of the list I just said as far as pitfalls. How many times does our anxiety cause all kinds of medical needs. I brought this up several times throughout our study. There are many who have frequent trips to the pharmacy simply because they have anxiety, so just because they have fears, they have things that they can't let go of, and in most cases, and I know that there are times when hormones and metabolism and bodily functions begin to override, just normal thought processes. But most of the cases, we'll say it that way, our anxiety are things that we simply could just let go of. We could allow God to take it. We could allow ourselves to trust God instead of being anxious. And there's a lot of, not to be a doctor by any means, but there are a lot of physical ailments that come from anxiety. And the list is huge. And I think that list is different for every one of us. How anxiety affects us. And so we could say one of the benefits of choosing to trust God is, well, the whole medical list is huge of what we could avoid if we could just learn how to trust God. Certainly a lot of growth that can take place as we trust God. There's a lot of testimony, just even in our own heart, joy that takes place because we trusted God. And this last chapter, chapter 14, gives a number of fruits of trusting God. The first one obviously being thankfulness, as the chapter is titled. But I thought before we dive into those fruits, I want to remind us kind of in summary the very reality of our trusting God is not just for those benefits. That's not our objective. I don't want to have stomach issues and sleepless nights, so I'm going to learn to trust God so I'm not anxious. That's a byproduct of trusting God, and it's a great byproduct of trusting God. A great benefit of truly trusting in our God, but our objective should not just be, let's say it this way, me focused. What I gain, because ultimately then we're not truly trusting God, we are serving self. And I've come to the conclusion that this is going to be more beneficial for me, so let's do it this way. The problem is there are times when we trust God that from our eyes, we're not always going to see as beneficial. And if my decisions are based on what's going to benefit me most, in most cases, trusting God is going to be very beneficial. But there will be some cases where trusting God is going to be, in fact, Caitlin was reading. She's probably done with it on like 7 books ago. No, she got it for Becca got it. It was Becca. Becca got a book for her birthday from a friend from Indiana. Not Caitlin, it was Becca. It was kind of a devotional, not necessarily based on the same martyrs from Book of Martyrs, but along those lines. And you think along those lines, they trusted in God, and from their vantage point, this wasn't all rosy. This was not, from a human physical vantage point, beneficial. And if our choices to trust God are only rooted in what chapter 14 is talking about, the gain of trusting God, the moment that we lose sight of that gain, we will trust something else. And so I wanted to kind of quickly go over this here this evening. Over the years, as an illustration, we're going to actually be in Psalm. If you want to start turning in that direction, Psalm 37. But over the years, I've had at times, unpleasant, what am I trying to say, unpleasant opportunity to change water pumps. I think pretty much every vehicle we've had has required us to change a water pump. And it's something that often goes. And it's easy at times to replace, but if you've ever had a water pump go, you know that kind of one of the first signs is you come back, park your car, and it sits for a while, and you come out a little later, and there's this little puddle underneath. Nothing big, just a little puddle. And you check under the hood, you don't see any leaks. Must just have been there before. It was, somebody else made a leak. Might be in my garage, but somebody else made that leak. It wasn't me. I don't see anything going on. And that'll happen a few times, and then you begin to smell that antifreeze. Something smells weird. And then you keep letting it go, and it keeps getting worse. Usually one of two things will happen. Either one, you're going to start seeing steam as it starts out the weep hole, starts shooting the antifreeze, or secondly, what was I going to say for the second point? What's the second? The pulley will start going, you start making horror noises, and one or the other is going to happen. Well, if you've ever had to change a water pump, it's not hard. It's usually 3 bolts and a lot of antifreeze running down your elbows, and not all that difficult to accomplish. Usually towards the top of the engine block, and you get your pulley off, take 3 bolts out, put the new one on. However, we've had a number of our vehicles, and probably most of them are like this, where you have to change the pulley. So getting the pulley off the old one is the most difficult aspect of changing out the water pump, because you gotta get the old pulley off and put it on a new pulley or a new pump. And anyway, here's the test. All that to say this: get the water pump back on and fill the thing back up with antifreeze because it all ran off your elbow. And you start up the engine and you look for leaks. No leaks. But the objective of the water pump is not just to avoid the leaks. In other words, I could fix that problem probably with some bubble gum. Stick it on the weep hole and fix, done, no leaks. Certainly they make some epoxy there that they sell at Menards that will even work in water situations, and put a little dab of that right there on that weep hole and there's no more leaks. We fixed the problem, didn't we? The problem is that the water pump is going, so it's designed to show you that it's going by this weep hole, spraying out antifreeze, because it's not effectively pumping the antifreeze through the engine block. And if our objective is just to get the leak to stop, and we're not fixing the problem, we're actually looking over a much bigger problem. And a $40 water pump now turns into a $2,000 engine block because we fixed it with bubble gum instead of replacing the part. And the same thing happens in our trust in our God. If we're just focused on our vantage point, the results we want, we may be overlooking something much larger in our heart, in our life, and I need to be aware of. Sometimes it's an easy thing, three bolts and some antifreeze, but I need to be focused on fixing it the right way, trusting Him, my God, the right way, for the right reason. Look at Psalm chapter 37. There are, I have those 2 words up there on the sheet. Our objective. What is our objective in life? Probably have several different ways we can answer it. Even biblically, we can answer that. What are our objectives in life? What does God have us to do? And it doesn't matter what our vocation or occupation is, but what does God have for us to do? Here's what God has for my life. We should be able to all say that. Here's what God has for my life. And I know that every one of us is going to have individual answers as far as the direction of our life, what state we live in, what job we pursue, what career we go to school for as they're considering colleges. Each one of us can be individual in that, but all of us collectively have an objective: glorify God. And ultimately, when we trust God, what's the objective of trusting God? To glorify Him. Our objective in trusting our God is the same objective it is for our life, to glorify Him. Now, again, if that's my ultimate objective, I need to realize that regardless of my vocation, what is my objective in that occupation or vocation? To glorify God. Whatever my hobbies are, what's my objective in those hobbies? Well, sometimes it's get away from my occupation, get away from the job. But ultimately, those hobbies are as well to assist me in glorifying God. We go on vacation. What's the objective of our vacation? Again, sometimes to get away, to rest, to sightsee, enjoy time with family, but the objective still is the same: glorify God. And we must not forget that our trust in our God is based on the fact that we are to live a life that brings glory and honor to Him. And but we need to be aware, number one, of some distractions. There's a number of verses here in Psalm 37 that remind us of those distractions. In fact, we could almost sum it up. In fact, I have it there. The distraction, life. Life is our distraction, as we could call it. Life is the distraction. Here, let me give you an illustration. We were just in South Carolina, which we just drove through North Carolina. North Carolina, I think, is still an amazing state, at least on the short part that we go from Tennessee. It's kind of cutting the corner there of North Carolina, and then on over. Pretty much North Carolina, we see Asheville. That's about it. Across from Tennessee, We have one city, Asheville, and then we're into South Carolina. But that area of North Carolina is, I think, amazing, just beautiful. And so that's where Matt is. And there at the Wilds is an amazing place, amazing location. And well, we didn't go to the Wilds. We only drove through the little edge there of North Carolina. If you're ever hiking in areas like that, and which we've had the, I have to say this, the unfortunate privilege of doing that. I'm nearly dying if you recall my illustrations of that. You're walking down a trail and there's people ahead of you, and say there's a spot where, the trail kind of gets a little gray as far as what is the trail, and clearly some people have made their way this way and others have made their way that way. Many times it's a tree that's right in the middle, and so which way do you go? Well, you see somebody ahead of you, so I'll say he'll take the left. I'm not choosing left for any reason other than I had to pick one. He picks the left side, and you watch them as you're approaching where they are, and they're really struggling. It's one of those, they take 2 steps, they slide back 3. And they're really working and struggling at that. And the person that was behind them takes the path to the right, and they just walk right up. When we get there, what path are we going to choose? The right. Now, Josiah would probably choose whatever one would get him the dirtiest, or whatever one Matt took. So it wouldn't matter whether it was easy or hard. If Matt took it, Josiah's going to take it, which also probably means Becca will as well. But probably the other 3 of us are going to take the right. Keep in mind, this is still North Carolina, so nothing's easy. There's no easy way in any of the hiking through the mountains there. But we just saw this guy struggling. We saw this guy not. And so we're going to go that way. We're going to take this route. And I think a lot of times in our life, we view life in that same way. Whatever is the easiest is what we will naturally incline ourselves to. We will naturally steer our feet towards. And it's not necessarily that we're trying to be, wimps, so to speak. It's because I think we just become accustomed to that. We saw struggle, we saw ease. Why would I pick this one? Why would I go that way? Well, look at the psalm, verse 1. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither thou be envious against the workers of iniquity. Why would you be envious of workers of iniquity unless at that moment it appeared that their work was seeming to work, if we say it that way. They are seeming to get up this mountain in an easier way than what my route is taking me. And it would become easy to become envious against workers of iniquity. Otherwise, when you decide to work with iniquity, I wouldn't be envious of that. I know what their end is. I know that this is not something that they're not making wise choices. I don't want to do that. I'm not envious of them. But I am envious. We are envious. The writer of Psalms is envious because it's easy to be envious because we see many times even them prospering in that. Jump down to verse 7. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Now there's a reason why we are told to rest in the Lord. And it's not because trusting in God is always restful. We're told to rest in the Lord because sometimes trusting in God is not restful in human terms. We're told to rest in the Lord because we need to be commanded, we need to be reminded that while there are so many times where following in the paths of Christ is truly sunrises and sunsets and beds of roses, but that's not always the case. In fact, most of the time is not the case. And I need to be reminded, I need to rest in the Lord and waiting patiently for him. Now, there's times that we have to wait, and there's times that we don't mind waiting. At Bob Jones, obviously when you leave really early in the morning, you're up late at night the night before, and you only get a couple hours of sleep, and then you drive for 13 hours and kind of just exhausted and don't feel like really doing much at that point except sleeping. But there are times when our routine, even there at Bob Jones last week, that they'd have to go do something and we'd have nothing to do. And it might be sitting in the game room playing the game with Josiah, playing, what did we play? Sorry.
Yes.
Board game of Sorry in the game room with college students all around us. but just being able to sit and rest. And there was no having to do patiently. It was because I wanted to, because this kind of feels nice, and I'm kind of tired, and even just standing up and walking, it feels nice to sit down and sit in the air conditioning. It's 100 degrees outside. It's really nice to sit inside in this air conditioning. You know, there are truths. The reality is I need to wait patiently, because there are times that my waiting time in God is going to push my patience. And I'm not saying that we're getting mad at God, but there are times that we prefer that God do what he's going to do now. And we need to wait patiently. Fret not thyself because of him who, here's what I was saying before from verse 1, who seems to even be prospering in the way. That doesn't seem right. Wait, why are they prospering? I am waiting. I'm trying to do it patiently, and they seem to be running ahead. Well, how does this all work out? Verse 10. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. Says there, consider his place. In other words, we're reminded that here's a place of those that are not trusting in God, who at that moment before their demise, that we're looking at them wondering, why is that? Why is that working out for them? And trust God means that I'm not just putting bubble gum on the weep hole of the water pump saying, let me just fix this problem. Let me just figure out how to make it work. But I need to understand the heart that needs to come along with trusting God, and it's a desire to truly glorify him. Not just gain the benefits for me, but to glorify my God. Verse 12. The wicked plotteth against the just. And not only do you have the word wicked, but followed by the word plotting against the just. And it gets worse, gnasheth upon him with his teeth. There's no pleasantness in that verse at all. And again, life at times comes in our way as a distraction of what our purpose is. Where do we go? Verse 14. The wicked have drawn out this is a great verse. They have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow. If you stop right there, you could say that things are not seemingly looking well at this point. If their sword is already drawn and their bow is already bent, this is about time that I'm going to start getting really worried, because I know where this is directed. They've drawn out the sword and they have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation or behavior. Verse 32, to jump all the way down there. The wicked watches the righteous and seeketh to slay him. Goes hand in hand with that last verse. And then verse 35 is the last verse. I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. I have seen. I have observed it with my hand, with my eyes, not my hands. I've observed it with my eyes. Trusting God is not about the reward. Trusting God is not about the benefits, the gain that I can have. Trusting God needs to be focused on my objective, to truly glorify him. So I trust God because I want to glorify him. And come what may, life is going to throw some curveballs at us, and we're going to say, hey, this isn't fair. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem how it should be working. They're excelling. They're taking that right path. I'm not choosing this for any other reason than I had to choose the right or left. They're taking that easy path, and my path seems to be a big struggle. They've made it right up, and I'm seeming to have to really work at this. This isn't, wait a minute. What's my objective in life? Glorify God. I trust God because my objective is to glorify him. And it may mean that I'm going to face some challenges in life, but I need to trust him in that. Jumping back to verse 3. What's the expectation of that purpose? Of truly glorifying him. Verse 3, trust in the Lord. Here's the expectation. Do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily shalt thou be fed. Now there's a lot of, certainly I've said this before, but there's a lot of actions that are easier said than done. There's a lot of ways that we can tell each other, well, I love so-and-so. I love them, but it's one thing to say with our words. But until the actions follow through, there's a doubt on what our words have said. Same thing with our trust in our God. It's something that we can easily, if I were to ask, a whole group of people, even those who aren't even saved. Do you trust in God? Oh yeah, trust God. You trust God or do you not trust God? Well, I don't trust God. I'll trust in God. Well, what are our actions that prove that we trust in God? Verse 3, here's the expectation. Here's the work of trusting in God. Just those two words. Do good. Do good. And again, it can be a challenge at times when I'd rather just say it. I'd rather just talk about it. I'd rather just tell others about it. But I need to put I need to put the feet to the road. I need to put action here. I need to do good. Look at several verses in this way. Verse 5, commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Committing our ways. We were on a verse very similar to this, or was this with Mr. Cole maybe? It's like commit thy ways is a word that involves the time frame of the camels. And you know, they kneel down and you roll your burden up to the home and get it attached to the camel. That's literally what that has, that idea of commit thy ways. You know, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of commitment that is involved in committing our ways unto the Lord, to put him truly in charge of our lives, not ourselves. And to commit our ways unto the Lord is the very aspect of doing good of the trusting. Commit your ways unto the Lord. Verse 7. I already mentioned it, but rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself. Now, rest is a hard thing to fake. Now, probably all of us as a child have been able to fool, or we thought we fooled our parents. When they told us to take a nap, and they looked in a little bit later, and we heard their feet coming down the hallway, what did you do? Maybe even open up your mouth, have your tongue hanging out and drool. But you know, now that I am a parent, I know that probably didn't work for my parents. They probably looked at it and thought, well, at least he's quiet. Not sleeping, but at least he's quiet. But I know they're not sleeping. Their eyes are closed, and that's just how that is going to work out. You know, truly resting is something that can't really be something that we fake. To truly rest in the Lord is something that takes work, it takes effort, it takes commitment, it takes trust. And it takes a life that is committed to glorifying him. Verse 8, cease from anger. You know, anger is the very essence of our not trusting our God. Whenever we are angry, it's because I am not trusting God. And that's a harsh reminder at times. But again, to go back up, verse 3, trust in the Lord, but don't just say it. Do it, live it, and cease from anger. You can't say, oh yeah, I trust in God, and I'm angry about life and about this and about that. That's not, they don't mesh together. I'm either trusting God or I'm angry. I can't do both. And so here's the do good. We need to cease from anger. And then he continues on in that verse, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Turn our backs on it. Fret not thyself in any way to do evil. Verse 9, for evildoers shall be cut off. But again, those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. Again, waiting on God. Verse 34, kind of jumping towards the end again. Wait again on the Lord and keep his way. I think there's a lot of times when waiting is one step that is very hard for us to take. But waiting and keeping his way is another step in difficulty. And the expectation of our purpose of glorifying our God is to trust him. And that expectation in that glorifying God and our trust is doing good. And this is not to be a do-gooder. It's not to have others notice us and make comments about it. That's not what this is about. But I want to glorify my God. There's things I need to do in my life in action. I'm not just saying, oh yeah, I trust God. I trust God. I trust God in that. But let's live it out. Let's put that into action. Verse 4, going back up to the beginning again. This is actually the verse that I was going to focus on, and then there's just too much more in the chapter. I want to hit the fulfillment. What's the fulfillment of this purpose? Kind of beyond what our chapter will go into, beginning with thankfulness. Here's the fulfillment of verse 4. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. We have certainly all endured challenges in life. Correct? We've all faced things that are not easy. It could be third grade, ninth grade, college. It could be an illness. It could be a relationship issue. We've all faced things that are challenging. Lost friendship, a certain teacher. We all had those teachers that were just that extra challenge in life. A job, maybe even at times a career, which would be a sad reality. Career or something that is an ongoing challenge. You know, there are times that we still have to do what we know we should do, even though it is a challenge. You know what I'm trying to say? For instance, my 3 kids that are here. There are times that we'll say to them, you know, whatever their chore, hey, it's time to do the dishes. And not that they're great rebellion or whatever, but there will be times that they'll say, I really want to. We'd rather just sit on the couch. We'd rather watch TV. And, well, you know, with my wife and I, you know, so we'll say, oh, okay, well, if that's what you want, little dear. That's fine. No. We say, no, on up the stairs. Get the job done. But, you know, and this is what will normally happen, and they can attest to this. There'll be times that I will, you know, in my infinite carnal wisdom, will say, yeah, one thing you're going to have to learn in life is a lot of things you're not going to like to do. In fact, I'll sometimes even name some things. I don't like having to pay the mortgage bill every month. I wish I didn't have to. It'd be great if I didn't have to pay the mortgage. I work hard all month and then that bill comes up. I would rather not have to do that. There are times that I would rather not have to go to an insurance office down the road and I'll work 40 hours a week. I would love to not have to do. Now, there's going to be things in life that we don't have to do, and that's not just for children. It's for all of us to be reminded of. There are things in life that we don't necessarily enjoy doing, but they have to be done. And with that said, because we face things that we don't always like doing, there are some weeks that just seem to always be Monday. And you make your way through Monday, and then you wake up on Tuesday and you realize it's Monday again. And somehow now we're on Friday, and the whole joy of being Friday seems to be still hovering over Monday. And there are times in life that we just don't really like having to do what we have to do, and whether it be the dishes at night or work or a task or a confrontation or whatever it is, we know we still have to do it. Something to get it done. But here's the question. With that as the reality of our life, what is it that we delight in? Oh, I would delight in a vacation. I just mentioned North Carolina. A vacation in North Carolina. Or even just over the border from North Carolina. You know, the Gatlinburg area of Tennessee is pretty cool as well. Could really handle a cabin. In fact, now that I talk about it, I could really handle a cabin in North Carolina or Tennessee and just spend a couple of weeks up there. You know, some pastors take like a month sabbatical. It would be great. Just take some books, take the Bible, bring a notepad, and even write. I'd love to write a book. This would be great. You know, who's the guy there in Minnesota? Piper. Not promoting him by any means, but that guy, he will disappear for like 2 or 3 months and work on a book, and he'll come back to his church and preach it. And as soon as he's done preaching his book he just wrote, he'll disappear again into wherever. And I had another one. I think to myself, that would be fun. That would be very cool. What are our delights? Because there are things in our life that we don't always like doing. Those things that we delight in will often take even higher precedence. You know, if we are already living in North Carolina, then obviously that has been resolved. But there'll be something else that will say, I would really like, and our delights begin to add up in opposition to all the things we don't necessarily enjoy on a day-to-day basis in our lives. Well, when it says, delight thyself also in the Lord, this is not, the word also does not mean we are putting God in with the rest of those things. To delight thyself also in the Lord. The also is in conjunction to trusting in the Lord of verse 3. Because in order to delight ourselves in our Lord, it means that, I'll say it this way, there are no other delights of our life. I am not putting God, I'm going to delight in God, and, well, a month sabbatical would be great. I'm going to delight in God, but, 5-bedroom house, 5-bedroom, 7 baths, pool in the backyard, and jacuzzi tubs in all the bathrooms. That'd be great without a mortgage. This would be wonderful. This would be perfect. I would delight in that. No, I'm going to delight in my God. He is my delight. He is the essence of my life. And to trust in the Lord, then, I also need to, I'm going to trust in my God. Not only am I doing good things, but as well I have to realize where my delight is. What is my delight? When Rebecca was a little girl, I'll tell a story on Rebecca. Let me back up. Let me back up and tell a story about Caitlin. When Caitlin was younger, depending on who was doing what with her, depending on whose daughter she was. And I know I've shared this before, but if my wife, and we just did this kind of as a game in the house, but if my wife would have just given Caitlin some chocolate ice cream. So whose girl are you, Kate? I'm Mama's girl. And if I would take her to the park, whose girl are you, Kate? I'm Daddy's girl. And she was kind of fickle that way. Depends on who was doing what for her. I'm Mom's girl or I'm Dad's girl. Well, the difference was with Rebecca was this. Similar circumstance. If Jen would do something and, just goofing around as just a family. So whose girl are you, Rebecca? And obviously, Jen just did something. It started off with Mama's girl. If I did something that she really liked, she would start off with Daddy's girl. But instead of just stopping at that point like Caitlin would do, Becca would always say, I'm Mama's girl. And she'd really emphasize, and Daddy's girl. Or if I did something, she'd do it the other way. I'm Daddy's girl and Mama's girl. Caitlin, we could never get sold that way. It was just always, who's ever going to scratch my back? I'm their girl right now. That's just the way she was. But anyway, the very reality, sometimes we try to be the little Becca mentality and say, I'm going to delight in God and we throw in all these other delights of our life. That's not how delight works. I'm going to trust in my God. My delight is my God. Because my objective is to glorify my God. And there's no room for and in that equation. I'm delighting myself in my God and nothing more. So therefore, my delight is not about results. It's not about me. My delight is not as the wicked as we have seen described here in this chapter, where they seem to be prospering and doing well, and that's their delight. They're enjoying that fact. My delight is always in my God, or it should always be in my God. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the fulfillment of our purpose of truly glorifying Him. I'm going to truly glorify my God. I need to ask myself this question: what or who is my delight? What is it that really brings me joy? What is it that really brings me fulfillment in life? It's got to be my God. And it can't be my God and all these other things. If I'm truly trusting in Him because I want to glorify Him, my delight is Him. And it becomes the essence of who we are. As a challenge then, what is my delight? And to what extent is my God my delight? And how often life becomes our distraction, the things of life become our distraction. And we easily then begin to just talk about trusting in the Lord, but it becomes more difficult to actually do trust in our God, the doing of it. And it becomes evident by the very reality of the answer to the question: what's my delight? Who is my delight? What truly brings me delight? Not to say that we're supposed to hate everything, I don't like Illinois, I don't like North Carolina, I don't like California, I don't like this state, I don't like that. That's not what this is about, but to truly realize that my delight of all those things is not God and it's, well, those things will, I enjoy time with my family, I enjoy doing this, I enjoy doing that, but my delight can still be this. Think food. Use food as an illustration. There's some foods that I really love. But as is obvious, there's a lot of food that I'll eat. There's some things that I really like, but that doesn't mean that's all I do. And I need to put my God as He's all. He's my all. He is my delight. And there is no and in here. God is my delight. Because also I trust in Him. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you again for your word. I thank you for certainly the challenge from a pen of David so many 1,000 years ago. Lord, we thank you for the very reality of its truthfulness to us today. I do pray for each one of us as we face those circumstances of life, perhaps even today, and not today, probably tomorrow. And that can easily become a distraction of us truly fulfilling a purpose, an objective of glorifying you. I pray that you remind us of our responsibility to not just talk about trusting you, but to live out the action of trusting you. And as well that we be evidence, the fulfillment of it all being the reality of our delight. And we thank you that you are a God that we can delight. We're thankful that you are a God that we can trust in. And I pray that you would challenge us in that regard here even tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Sunday, anniversary, Peter Wright, lots of music, lots of food. Next Wednesday, business meeting. Next Thursday, Lions. And I really think you need some help with that if anybody's available. And we'll go from there. For next Thursday, I don't know if I said this. Obviously, we're not expecting people to be here from, middle of the day until well into the wee hours of the night by any means. But if you're able to even give an hour, hey, I can show up at 4 o'clock and do this, or I can come at 8 o'clock and help with this. Even that would be greatly appreciated. Whatever is available, we will certainly use. Am I missing anything? I don't know, do we have the food all figured out? I think, for the most part, because the Lions actually pay us for the meal, but I think the church is going to buy that. The church is reimbursed for it.
We're having green beans, we're going to do baked potatoes, so we'll need to pick up sour cream, bacon, cheese,
Yes.
butter, and then I don't have a dessert planned yet. So we need dessert, and then we have to decide if we need salad.
Yes. Things to consider between now and next Thursday. There's that and.
Yes.
Yes. So any help that anybody's available for that, I'll see my wife, and we'll go from there. But you are dismissed. Certainly, with all our prayer requests, you continue to pray for Tom here tonight. It's still very touch and go. Got a phone call from one of the city guys this afternoon. Well, I got a text and said, "Can you give me a call?" And then I had to tell you, my heart sunk. Oh, don't be about Tom, which it was, but I was fearing for the worst, considering where he was. But continue to pray. What are you doing this night?